This is Worldwide Exchange.
Novelis, which recycles aluminum cans to be used to make a variety of products, expects profits to double in the next few years as demand for the metal ramps up, especially from the auto industry. Joining us now is Phil Martens, the CEO of Novelis, and still with us, our guest host is Bill Isaac, sitting on set. Good to have you with us, Phil. So you're seeing a lot of movement, specifically in cars, as they're becoming more aluminum-based, and that's probably great for business.
Oh, it is great for business. And as you think about the fuel economy and the price of fuel, clearly consumers want something that's more efficient. And the automotive OEMs worldwide are really addressing that by starting to lightweight their vehicles. It started out of Europe, and we're starting to see a lot of activity here in the United States. So over time, I expect a lot of aluminum to come into the body structures of new products out of the OEMs.
And where are you seeing some of that growth primarily?
You know, we're seeing growth. It's interesting. We see growth just as you would expect it. From the automotive sector, it's driven out of Europe, and it's starting to come in the United States. But if you look at the other part of our business, which is really driven at the consumer end, primarily beverage cans and electronics, that's very strong in Asia, very strong in Brazil, actually reasonably strong in Europe, and here in the United States it started to moderate in the March time frame. So overall, it's very similar to what you would expect from a global economic forecast.
Well, Phil, I understand the reason for using the aluminum in cars and trucks because it reduces their weight and improves gas mileage. But is there a safety issue on the other side? Is the heavier car a little stronger and therefore less harmful to if you get in an accident?
Oh, yeah. You know, a lot of people might think that, but you know, you got to give a lot of credit to the design engineers in the automotive world. They've done a marvelous job of making sure that aluminum is not only as safe and durable as steel in terms of the design configurations, but they've proven it. If you take Jaguar, for example, they actually went into production with an all-aluminum body structure almost 10 years ago. And as you look at the modeling and what they do to actually set the vehicles up, I think the consumer should feel no different, whether it's steel or aluminum.
I guess the answer to that is look at a race car.
Yes, absolutely.
You couldn't be lighter than that with more speed and torque than that, but yet you can have them explode and the driver
still safe. Remarkably safe, absolutely.
And Ross has a question from London.
Yeah, I was going to talk about aluminium. Is that a different compound, aluminium? I don't know. Anyway, look.
You know, it's spelled differently depending on where you're at in the world.
Okay, I didn't know if it's slightly different over here. Maybe Jags are using aluminium. Maybe that's why it's different. Look, I just want to talk about the cost, the energy costs here, and how you cope with that, and you know, how do you mitigate that?
You know, energy costs are a big part of the production process of aluminum, and you absolutely have to look at it from a long-term basis. You know, we spend a lot of time day in, day out in our factories making sure that we're very efficient in what we do. But in principle, you've got to position yourself well in terms of your locations of your plants, and you've got to work with the local municipalities in terms of long-term supply. But it has been a rising issue in some of the input costs that we've seen. We do see rises in the material costs, but we have to offset those. It's just part of the business. You pay attention to it day in and day out, and it's a little bit at a time to get the cost down.
Is aluminum recyclable? I mean, it's complex, isn't it? Isn't it to melt it down and reuse it?
You know, it's a great question. Aluminum itself is an infinitely recyclable material, and the beauty of it, and this is what we're seeing as the world starts to use more and more of it, is that we're the world's largest recycler. We actually see a lot of people putting an emphasis on that. A lot of our customers now are working with us on a larger scale, what we call sustainability closed-loop systems. And in principle, I think as we go forward, you know, we're at Novelis trying to actually use almost 80% recycled material in our end products over the long term. I think it's got a tremendous amount of value in terms of what it can offer the companies that use it and the consumers that can actually use the packaging and products that are there.
Very good. So, we appreciate your time this morning. Phil Martens, CEO of Novelis, that handles aluminum or aluminium, depending on what part of the world you're in. Thank you so much for your time, Phil. Bill sticks around for the rest of the hour. And still to come, we talk about the rise really of self-technology services in the increasingly automated world.